So last time we finished the front steps and skirting for both the cottage and the staff quarters. We also installed the solar system, so we finally had power on site. But there's a big part of the story we didn't properly cover, how we actually wired everything. The tubing, the conduits, the DB box, the full electrical setup. So today, let's rewind a little bit and walk through how we wired this entire place step by step and exactly what it cost. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm documenting the journey of building a home in Zimbabwe while living abroad. I read every comment, I appreciate all the advice, and I try to share the real process, the wins, the mistakes, and the lessons. Now, I know we've already touched on some of this before, especially when we're preparing for the plastering. But to make this story make sense, we need to tie everything together. So let's rewind a little bit. So before any plastering goes on the walls, you'll need to do the electrical tubing. That means chasing walls, cutting into the brickwork, and preparing parts for the conduits. Once the walls are chased, the electrician started laying conduits. So conduits are plastic pipes that carry the wiring through the walls. Now, one thing about me, I really hate not having enough plug sockets. So my rule was simple really, as many plug sockets as possible, within reason obviously. Especially in places like the kitchen, you don't really want to be that guy that's unplugging the kettle so that you can use the microwave. So in the kitchen areas, we made sure to install double sockets along the countertops, at least 3 on each side. It might feel like overkill for now, but trust me, you'll never regret more sockets. Another thing we did was run the conduits through the roof timber. Now I'll be honest, this is one of my regrets with this build. Running wiring through timber is common and standard, but the type of roof we chose will make future changes or maintenance more difficult after installing the ceiling. I'll break that down properly in a future episode where we cover the ceiling. For sockets, went with the British 3-pin plug. In my opinion, it's one of the best designs in the world. You have a built-in fuse for protection, you get a strong and stable connection, and it's safer than most 2-pin systems in my opinion. And in Zimbabwe, where power surges are common, that fuse can save your appliances. Planning socket positions in my opinion is very critical. So I made sure I was physically on site during this phase. We literally walked room by room, marking exactly where every socket, switch, and light would go. Because once the walls are plastered, changing these becomes very expensive and messy. Once the conduits were laid, everything was covered up with mortar. After it dried, we were ready for plastering. At this point, the electrical infrastructure is hidden, but everything's now in place. So a quick plug here, you know me guys, I'll always plug the good ones for you. I found a really solid hardware supplier called Fab Junction Hardware. They had electric supplies, plumbing materials, seaming and skimming materials, and most importantly, they actually had stock consistently and accepted card payments. The smaller hardware stores are often cheaper, more flexible, and can save you a lot of money over the course of the build. One thing for sure is that when you're building, you're buying something almost every day, so reliability really matters. Now, once the plastering is done, we move to wiring. Everything starts from the distribution box or the DB box. This is going to be the control center for your electrical system. Power comes in here, the circuits are split here, and protection happens here. Each circuit, lights, sockets, and pumps is protected by the breakers. So if something goes wrong, only that circuit trips, not the whole house. You can see here how these guys are working, which is pretty interesting. To run the wires through conduits, they use a steel fish tape. One person feeds it through, the other one pulls it from the other end. It's literally a push and pull system. It's very simple but effective. So, your house wiring is divided into circuits, for example, the lighting circuit, the socket circuit, and dedicated appliance circuits. Each circuit is protected by a breaker in the DB box. So we installed isolator switches, and these allow you to cut power to specific systems manually. It's very useful for maintenance or emergencies. Once wiring was complete, we temporarily installed sockets and switches. You'll notice that some were hanging out of the walls. That's because we were testing everything before the final finishes like skimming. You can see here, we installed these 30-watt LED floodlights around the building. Now they serve two purposes, and that's lighting the yard at night and basic security. Even during the day you can see how bright they are, and at night they completely change the feeling of the space. Now this is critical, proper earthing. We installed an earth spike into the ground, connected it to the green and yellow wires, and this earthing is bonded to the whole electrical system, the IBR roofing, and the copper plumbing pipes. This ensures that if there's a fault, the electricity goes off into the ground instead of going through you. We also set up a control area for the borehole pump and the pressure pump, with isolators for both. And that little meter box wall, yeah, I built that myself. First time ever laying bricks. I'll give myself a solid 3 out of 10, but be honest, I'll take a 5 if you're being generous. Now let's talk about the cost of the tubing and wiring stage. For the tubing materials, we bought things like conduits, couplings, nipples, bends, saddles, boxes, meter boxes, and a few other small fittings. One lesson I learned is that communication really matters. I had already explained that this was going to be an off-grid setup, but we still ended up buying some items that were probably not necessary for this kind of installation, like the meter boxes and goosenecks. At the time, I was none the wiser, and I trusted the process, bought what I was told to buy, and only understood later that some of those items were not needed at all. Anyway, the tubing material came up to $303. Then we paid labor for the tubing work, which was $400. So the total came up to $703. For the wiring materials, this included the electrical cables and related wiring supplies. So the wiring materials came up to $1,172, and the labor for the wiring was $250. So the total for wiring was $1,422. Altogether, for the tubing and wiring stage, the total came up to $2,122.60. And this is one of the stages where the cost can creep up quietly. A lot of the items are small, so they don't feel expensive individually, but once you start buying conduits, couplings, saddles, boxes, nipples, and fittings for the whole house, it adds up very quickly. So if you're budgeting for electrical work, don't just budget for the cable. The tubing, the boxes, the fitting, the labor, and the small accessories are all part of the real cost. At this point, all rooms have at least 2 double sockets, lights and switches are installed, floodlights are working, and the system is fully powered. We're now ready for the next phase, finishing and plumbing. So in the next episode, we'll go deeper into the plumbing side of things, how we connected everything, what materials we used, and how much it all cost. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe to help the channel grow. And if you have any comments, questions, or advice, drop them below. I read every comment. And as always, thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.